Yo, what is going on today, YouTube? I hope you guys are doing fantastic today. And today is going to be the last video on rosters for the Smite Pro League. Yesterday, actually 2 days ago, I think it was the roster lock. And then yesterday, we got the official announcement of who the Gilded Gladiators final teammate is going to be. Let's just jump right in and look at these rosters. So I decided to do it a little bit differently. This was the league at the beginning of the year. This is the league after the first support swap. And then this is the league currently. Stuff highlighted in gray is a change made. Mostly going to be focusing on this one, but I figured if you guys maybe missed out on some of the changes and you were curious about when they happened, this would be the order they happened. The second most recent change, other than the Coast, Stu, and Snoopy Jangaru changes, was Zap, Panda, and Bara. I didn't want to do 4 different ways of these, but Panda and Zap change was almost a month back, and these changes were literally yesterday. So slightly different timing, but I figured I'd throw them all together. Currently looking at the rosters, the Levi's been playing great, 4-1-0 or 4-1, 80% win rate. Looking at the rest of the year, it is 10 sets total they'll be playing. So the Levi's have 5 sets left. The Ferrymen have 6 sets left. So this is like almost a halfway point for a lot of the teams. And if you're sitting here at 0-4, 1-4, 1-3, changes might need to be made. And that's what the Dragons were thinking about. It was interesting to see that the Dragons were the catalyst for it. Vote was dropped for Vaporish Coast, and Coast ended up choosing the Dragons over the Hounds when last week they played and the Hounds won. So it was an interesting choice by Coast, where this is a team that you just beat on your current team and you left to join them. And then after that, Stu also joined the Hounds. The Hounds are 1-3 also. After the change, they are most likely downgrading. Stu's a great player, but I think Coast has been probably one of the biggest surprises this year. He's played fantastic. Recent Hounds games were the Dragon sets, and they played the Ferrymen, and they took a game off the Ferrymen. The Hounds have had, an okay year. They've had 2 of the hardest games so far, playing against the Levi's and the Ferrymen. Did they play the Oni Warriors too? They did. So every single set that the Levi's have lost are against teams that have at least 4 wins. Or sorry, not the Levi's, the Hounds. They played all the toughest teams. Unfortunately for them, though, they have to play the Levi's and the Ferrymen twice. But they still have 3 games in the Chaos Division, and they have 1 more set versus the Jade Dragons. Looking at the Gilded Gladiators change, I'm happy this is the direction they went in. I think there was a bunch of mids that were very good. I think Krim is a good option. I think Jangaru was a good option. And I think Gone was a good option. All SCC players. Jangaru's team is actually winless right now. Krim's team is 3-0. And then Gone's team is, I think, 1-2. It's a little surprising that Jangaru was the one gone with. I would have thought it would have been Krim. And then I also saw Gone's tweet, which I don't know if that means that they tried him out or they wanted to play with him and he said no. It seemed like he was making it seem like they asked him and he said no. But moving Snoopy to ADC, I think will be really beneficial for the Glads. Keeping Jangaru in mid lane and then bringing some new blood in the league. Because if you think about all these players, a lot of them have been playing for a while. There are some outliers that are, this is a newer player and I'm glad that they joined the league. Like thinking back 3 years ago when the Sanguine team joined the league, and they just joined with this massive different approach and they just looked incredible and it was so cool to watch them all play. And then you think about Shinto, Rani, some of the top players in their role, Yark Ornette, top players in their role, Panatom, probably the best player in the world right now. And then Coast this year looks great. Stu a couple years ago looked great. I mean, Quigs looked good this year. And Kirmi last year looked really good. Problem is, a lot of talent is recycled kind of in the league, which I think is a little unfortunate. But seeing these new players come in, seeing them compete, play well, it's great. Looking at this weekend's games, we got the Levi's versus the Ferrymen starting off our Friday set, which is going to be incredible. These are my top 2 teams currently. I have the Ferrymen as a slightly better team than the Levi's, but I think it is very, very close. And I think this is going to be a great set. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a 3-1 and it's just really good games, because they played here and it was a fantastic set, but the Levi's did get 3-0'd. Next set, we have the Kings versus the Ravens. Another really good set. I actually have the Kings and the Ravens as my 4th and 5th best team, and I just had the Ravens last week passing up the Kings. I think the Kings had a really down week last week. They looked bad against the Warriors, and they looked bad against the Levi's. True, it is the Levi's and it is the Warriors, both top 3 teams, but you have to look at least competent against those teams, and there was no competence in any of those games. Kings did not look very good. The Ravens had a Tough week also playing against the Ferrymen, but they did take a game off, and I thought I saw a little bit more in their games against the Ferrymen, leading me to kind of kick them up in the power rankings. And then we have the Gladiators with Ferrymen. It's tough to have your first roster change be against the best team in the league, but if this is any other set, there's probably more you want, but all you want from this set is just playing competitive Smite. They've looked solid in the first 15 minutes, but their last 15 minutes of every game, they just look abysmal. So just something that makes them look better than they were before. Kings versus Hounds. Another set that I think could be really good because it's the 5 versus 6 seed for me. Hounds made the change. Well, they didn't make the change. They now have Stu in place of Coast. So I'm curious to see how the Hounds are going to change because they had a lane they could play through. Ducky is not a lane you play through. Ducky wants to farm up, play for late game. You can play around his lane. I think he's got a really, really good Hercules, but even then he plays for the later portions of the game on Herc. And they usually play through duo. Stu is a very great player, but I think Stu struggles a little bit in early portions of the game, and I don't think he knows how to really dominate lanes, and I think that's his weakness. So this could be a not as close of a game as people think because of how the Hounds have now made this change, or they were forced to make this change. I hate saying they made this change because it's not like they made it. It was kind of forced on them. So I think this could actually be a maybe even 3-0 depending on the type of Kings we see. But I think the Kings of last week and the Hounds with worst case scenario, this could be a bad set where both teams don't look very good. Dragons versus Levi's. This is a solid game for you to... Actually, it is another tough game to have for a roster change. If you can play against almost any of these teams after a roster change, you're feeling good because you can try stuff, see how stuff feels, don't get punished for small mistakes. But I think this Dragons team with Coast instead of Vote, I think Vote is a fantastic ADC, and I think he is a clear top ADC in the world. Problem is Vote is not a player who dominates lanes, really. He is a consistent, very good player, but he is not one that you can dominate. And Mike wants to play through his lane, and Mike wants to dominate his lane. And I think Coast, more than any other player in the world, he knows how to dominate lane. It's like giving Yarkor vibes of last season where Genetics would get him a small lead, and then Yarkor was bodying that lane. And then last set of the week, Warriors versus Ravens. This is a game that the Ravens need to win. If the Ravens want to be seen as a top team, they have to be able to compete with the Warriors. I think they can, but I think they need to have consistency. I think they have a struggle with top teams a lot of the times. I think they need to be able to play a good set against the Warriors and take a couple games. Maybe not win the set yet. I don't think they need to win the set, but just competing where the set is like, oh, the Ravens could have won, or the Ravens even should have won. That is enough for me to be like, this is a top team, and there's now an extra team in that top 4. Or I'd move the Warriors down, depending on how the Warriors looked in that set. But these are the current rosters heading into Worlds. What do you guys think of the roster changes? Any roster change that sticks out as your favorite? Do you think Coast really changes the Dragons that much? But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you guys again tomorrow. I'll be on desk this weekend, desk and casting this weekend. So I hope you guys stop by, enjoy the sets, and yeah, I hope you guys have been enjoying the casting too. It's been a lot of fun in casting. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you guys again next time. Peace.